Ryan's office revenge. The boardroom went dead quiet when Brooke Hamilton looked right at me and said, "You're done here, Scott. Pack your stuff and get out. I'm Scott Mitchell, 51 years old. Been running operations at this place for 20 years. And I was about 10 minutes into explaining our quarterly numbers when this woman, who'd been on the job all of 3 weeks, decided to fire me in front of the entire executive team. Just like that. No warning, no discussion. Just you're done." The whole room froze. 16 people sitting around that big oak table. Board members, department heads, our lawyer Jason Webb. Everyone staring like they couldn't believe what just happened. Hell, I couldn't believe it either. Brooke didn't even blink. Sat there in her fancy black suit, arms crossed, looking at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. Hair pulled back so tight it probably hurt. And those cold eyes, the kind that belong to someone who's never had to actually work for anything. "I said you're terminated," she repeated, talking slower like I was stupid. "Security's waiting outside." Sure enough, 2 guards showed up in the doorway. They'd been standing out there the whole time, which meant this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. This lady had planned my execution before the meeting even started. My heart was pounding, but I kept my cool. Didn't look at the guards. Instead, I looked straight at Brooke, then over to Linda Brooks, our board chair, who looked like she'd seen a ghost. Then to Jason, whose pen had stopped moving completely. I closed my laptop nice and slow, took off my ID badge, and set it down on the table. Made a little click when it hit the wood. Then I said the only thing that mattered. "Check your email in about 10 minutes. Things are about to get real interesting around here." Brooke's face changed just a little, like maybe I wasn't following whatever script she had in her head. I picked up my stuff and headed for the door. The guards didn't grab me or anything, just walked behind me, looking more confused than tough, like they weren't sure if they were escorting out a fired employee or someone they shouldn't mess with. Behind me, I heard Linda's voice. "Brooke, what the hell just happened?" I didn't stick around to hear the answer. Because what Brooke Hamilton didn't know, what none of them knew, was that in about 10 minutes, she'd be the one talking to those same security guards about cleaning out her desk. Let me back up and tell you how a hotshot MBA destroyed her own career in less than 4 hours on what was supposed to be my last day. I've been at precision manufacturing since I was 31. Started in quality control, worked my way up the hard way. No MBA, no fancy degree, just showed up every day and figured out how to make things work. We build heavy equipment components, nothing glamorous. Stuff that goes in bulldozers and mining trucks. Real work. The company's been in the Peterson family for 30 years. Old man Peterson retired last year, handed things over to his son, Danny, who's a decent guy, but not much of a leader. The board decided Danny needed help, so they brought in Peter Harrison as CEO. Peter's solid, been our CFO forever, knows the business inside out. But the board wanted more than solid. They wanted growth, modernization, all that corporate buzzword nonsense. So they hired Brooke Hamilton to be our VP of Strategic Operations. Brooke came from some big consulting firm in Chicago. Her resume looked like she'd walked on water, turned around 3 companies, led major efficiency improvements, increased profits by 40%. All very impressive on paper. The red flags started before she even showed up. 3 weeks before her start date, I got an email. Not from Peter, not from HR, straight from her. "Scott, I need a complete operational assessment before I arrive. I want to understand everything that's broken so I can fix it immediately. Everything that's broken." Like she already knew our operation was screwed up without ever setting foot in the place. I should have told her to pound sand right then, but I figured I'd give her a chance. Maybe she was just trying to be thorough. So I spent my weekend putting together a 70-page report covering every aspect of our operation. Everything from our supply chain to our safety protocols to our client relationships. Her response? Got it. We'll talk when I start. That's it. No thanks for the weekend work, no follow-up questions. Just got it. Brooke's first day was a Monday in November. Showed up in a suit that probably cost more than most people make in a month. Everything perfect. Hair, makeup, the works. Like she was going to a photo shoot instead of a manufacturing plant. Peter introduced her around. She smiled and shook hands, said all the right things about being excited to work with such an experienced team. Then she asked everyone for their current project lists and priorities. Just trying to get up to speed quickly, she said with this fake smile. By lunch, she'd scheduled one-on-one meetings with every department head. Mine was Tuesday at 8 a.m. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole thing felt wrong. Like when you're in the woods and suddenly all the birds stop singing. You know something's out there. You just don't know what yet. Tuesday morning, I walked into her office. She'd already rearranged everything, moved Peter's old furniture around like she was marking territory. Sat down across from her big desk. She didn't waste any time. I read your report, Scott. We have serious problems here. I waited for her to explain. Your systems are outdated. Your processes are inefficient. Your team structure doesn't make sense. Honestly, I'm not sure this operation can be saved without major changes. The way she said it, like she was doing me a favor by pointing out what an idiot I'd been for 20 years. Can you be more specific? I asked. Your inventory tracking is all manual. Your quality control varies, by shift instead of being standardized. And you've got skill gaps that should have been addressed months ago. I took a breath. Some of those gaps exist because corporate froze hiring last year. We've been doing more with less, and I'm not interested in excuses, she cut me off. I'm interested in solutions. There it was. The line that told me everything I needed to know about this woman. She wasn't here to understand or collaborate. She was here to tear things down and build them back up her way. Those aren't excuses, I said calmly. That's context. You can't fix problems if you don't understand why they exist. She leaned back, arms crossing. Scott, I need to know right now if you're going to help me fix this place or fight me every step of the way. Fight her. Like wanting to understand the reasoning behind 20 years of decisions was somehow being difficult. I'm here to do my job, I told her. Same job I've been doing successfully for 2 decades. Good, she said, though her tone suggested she didn't believe it. Then I expect your full cooperation as I implement the changes we need over the next 30 days. Not as we figure out what changes might help. Just as I implement the changes. Like my opinion didn't matter at all. I left that meeting knowing exactly what kind of person I was dealing with. The type who shows up thinking they're smarter than everyone who came before them. The type who burns through good people because they can't admit they might not know everything. That night, I did something I'd never done in my entire career. I started keeping records of everything. Every email, every conversation, every decision she made. Not because I wanted to cause trouble, but because I had a feeling I was going to need proof of what really happened when things went sideways. And boy, was I right about that. Over the next couple weeks, I watched Brooke tear through our operation like a tornado, and I kept notes on everything. First thing she did was reorganize the whole department structure without telling anyone. Just sent out an email on Wednesday morning. Effective immediately, all quality control reports go through strategic operations for review. That meant my guys who'd been reporting directly to our clients for years suddenly had to run everything past Brooke first. My phone started ringing immediately. Kevin Rodriguez, who handles our 3 biggest accounts, came into my office looking like someone had kicked his dog. Scott, what's going on? Morrison Industries called, asking why their weekly reports are suddenly delayed. I've been sending those reports every Friday for 8 years, and now I need approval from someone who doesn't even know what equipment they're buying? Just follow the new procedure for now, I told him. Document everything. Keep copies of all your communications. Why? What's happening? Trust me on this one, Kevin. Just keep good records. That same week, Brooke started scheduling client calls without including the account managers. These are relationships we'd built over decades, and she's jumping on calls with guys like they're new prospects instead of clients who've been buying from us since before she got out of college. Danny Peterson, the owner's son, pulled me aside Friday afternoon. "Scott, I just got off the phone with Bill Morrison. He's not happy. Says some new executive called him trying to optimize their purchasing strategy. Bill's been buying from us for 15 years. He doesn't want to optimize anything. He wants the same reliable service we've always given him." "I hear you, Danny. Maybe you should talk to Peter about it." "I already did. Peter says the board wants him to let Brooke implement her changes. But between you and me, this feels wrong." That's when I knew Danny was on my side. Good thing, because I had a feeling I was going to need all the allies I could get. The following Monday, Brooke called an all-hands meeting for our department, crammed 40 people into our conference room. Guys who'd been with the company 10, 15, even 20 years. "I want to be transparent," she started, standing at the front like she was giving a lecture. "Our current operational model isn't sustainable. We're implementing significant changes over the next month. Some roles will be restructured, some processes will be eliminated. I need everyone to be flexible and adaptable." Hands shot up around the room. Questions about what changes, what timeline, how decisions would be made. "Details are still being finalized," Brooke said with that fake smile. "What I need from all of you is trust that these changes are in everyone's best interest." Trust. From someone who'd been here 3 weeks and was already talking about eliminating processes that had been working fine for years. After the meeting, Tommy Brennan, our lead machinist who'd been here since the place opened, cornered me in the hallway. "Scott, what the hell is she talking about? I've been running that precision cutting operation for 12 years. Built it from scratch. Is she really going to scrap it because some consultant told her it's not efficient enough? Tommy, listen to me. Keep detailed records of everything you do, every process, every client interaction. Write it all down. You want me to document my own job? Yeah, I do. And make sure you keep copies at home." His eyes got wide. "Jesus, Scott. You think they're going to fire us? I think we need to be prepared for anything." That afternoon, I got the email that confirmed my worst fears, from Brooke, with Peter and Jason copied. "Scott, I need you to adjust our Q3 performance numbers for tomorrow's board presentation. Move some maintenance costs into Q4 and accelerate recognition on the Henderson contract. The board needs to see improved efficiency metrics." I stared at that email for about 10 minutes. She was asking me to cook the books, make our numbers look better by moving expenses and revenue around between quarters. That's not adjusting anything. That's fraud. I walked down to her office. She was on the phone, gestured for me to sit down. When she hung up, I got straight to the point. "I can't do what you asked in that email." "Which part?" "Moving costs and revenue between quarters without legitimate business justification violates our accounting policies. It's also illegal." Her face went cold. "I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, Scott. I'm asking you to present our performance in the best possible light. By moving numbers around to make things look better than they are? By optimizing how we report our results. Call it whatever you want, Brooke. I'm not doing it." She stood up, walked around her desk, and closed the office door. Never a good sign. Let me explain something to you, Scott. I was brought in here to turn this operation around. That means making tough decisions and sometimes pushing boundaries. If you're not willing to be flexible, then maybe you're not the right person for this job anymore. Pushing boundaries. That's what she called asking me to commit accounting fraud. If being flexible means breaking the law, then no, I'm not willing to do it. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then she smiled. The coldest smile I'd ever seen. "I'll keep that in mind," she said. I walked out of there knowing I was screwed. She'd just asked me to do something illegal. I'd refused. And now she was going to find a way to get rid of me. Classic move. Get rid of the people who won't play ball. That night, I called Jason Webb, our general counsel, at home. Jason, hypothetical question. If someone asked you to move expenses between quarters to make performance look better, what would you call that? Long pause. Scott, please tell me this is actually hypothetical. For now. That's accounting fraud, clear violation of GAAP standards, possibly SEC regulations depending on how it's reported. Why are you asking? Just wanted to understand the legal implications. Scott, if someone's pressuring you to manipulate financial data, you need to document everything and report it immediately. We have protections for exactly this kind of situation. Understood. And Scott? Be careful. If someone's willing to ask you to break accounting rules in week 3, they're not going to stop there. People like that escalate. He was right about that. The next morning, I found out just how far Brooke was willing to escalate. I came in to find an email waiting for me, sent the night before. From Brooke to Peter and the board chair. I have serious concerns about Scott Mitchell's ability to adapt to necessary operational changes. His resistance to strategic improvements is creating obstacles to progress. I recommend we begin formal performance review procedures. Performance review. I'd gotten an outstanding review 6 months ago. This wasn't about performance. This was payback for refusing to cook the books. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd sent that email before she actually presented to the board, before she had any idea what I'd been doing for the past 3 weeks. See, while Brooke had been busy reorganizing everything and alienating our best clients, I'd been doing some research of my own. And what I found was going to make her Friday morning very, very interesting. I forwarded her email to my personal account, printed out everything I'd documented, and called Jason. It's time, I told him. Set up that board meeting. Jason called an emergency board meeting for Friday morning at 9 a.m. But I wasn't just going to sit around waiting to get ambushed again. I had work to do. Thursday night, I made some calls. 20 years in this business, you build a network. Guys who've moved on to other companies, suppliers who've worked with multiple firms, even a couple retired executives who knew the industry inside out. My first call was to my buddy Rick Martinez, who runs operations at Industrial Solutions down in Houston. We'd worked together 15 years ago, stayed in touch ever since. Rick, I need a favor. You ever heard of a consultant named Brooke Hamilton? Claims she turned around some companies in the industrial sector. Hamilton? Yeah, actually I have heard that name. Hang on, let me think. Didn't she work with Apex Manufacturing a couple years back? That's what her resume says. Claims she increased their efficiency by 40%. Rick laughed, but not in a good way. Scott, Apex went belly up 6 months after she left. They laid off half their workforce, then sold the whole operation to a Chinese company. If that's her idea of a turnaround, you better watch your ass. Bingo. 1 down. Next call was to Janet Walsh, who handles industrial equipment finance for a big bank in Cleveland. Janet's been in the business 25 years, knows everyone. Janet, quick question. Ever deal with a company called Meridian Industrial? Supposed to be one of Brooke Hamilton's success stories. Oh, honey, don't get me started on Meridian. Hamilton came in there with all these efficiency improvements, outsourced their entire quality control department to save money. Within a year, they had so many defective products in the field, the lawsuits nearly bankrupted them. Company got bought out for parts. What a disaster. 2 down. My last call was to old Tom Bradley, who'd been CEO of 3 different manufacturing companies before he retired. Tom's the kind of guy who knows where all the bodies are buried. Tom, I'm dealing with a situation here. VP named Brooke Hamilton claims she spearheaded some big acquisition at Precision Dynamics. You know anything about that? Hamilton. Wait, was she the consultant who recommended they buy that fabrication company up in Michigan? Sounds right. Scott, that was one of the worst acquisitions I've ever seen. They paid 50% over market value for a company with outdated equipment and a bunch of union problems they didn't know about. Cost them $20 million before they finally shut it down. If she's the one who pushed that deal, she's either incompetent or she was getting kickbacks. 3 for 3. Brooke Hamilton's impressive track record was actually a trail of destroyed companies and failed acquisitions. But I wasn't done yet. Friday morning, an hour before the board meeting, I made one more call. This one to Bill Morrison at Morrison Industries, our biggest client. Bill, it's Scott Mitchell. I wanted to give you a heads up. We might have some management changes coming, and I want to make sure your service doesn't get disrupted. Scott, I'm glad you called. I've been meaning to talk to someone about this new woman who's been calling our office. Brooke something. She's got some ideas about optimizing our supply relationship that honestly don't make any sense. What kind of ideas? She wants us to switch to just-in-time delivery for critical components. Scott, you know our operation. When one of our machines breaks down, we need parts immediately. We can't wait 3 days for delivery because it saves a few bucks on inventory costs. I understand completely, Bill. She also suggested we could save money by using lower-grade steel for some applications. Lower grade? These are mining trucks, Scott, not garden equipment. They're supposed to work in mines for 10 years, not fall apart after 2 seasons. Perfect. Not only was Brooke's track record a disaster, she was actively trying to destroy our best client relationships with amateur hour suggestions. 9 a.m. Sharp. I walked into that boardroom with a folder full of documentation and a head full of righteous anger. The whole leadership team was there. Linda Brooks, 3 other board members, Peter Harrison, Jason Webb, Danny Peterson, and of course, Brooke Hamilton. She'd set up her laptop and had a stack of printed presentations ready to go. Linda called the meeting to order. We're here because of some urgent concerns that have been raised about recent operational decisions. Brooke, you requested this. Meeting to discuss Scott's performance issues. Please proceed. Brooke stood up, clicked to her first slide. Professional as always, like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Thank you, Linda. I've prepared a comprehensive review of critical operational deficiencies that require immediate board attention and action. She launched into her presentation. Scott Mitchell's department was inefficient. Costs were too high. Processes were outdated. Client relationships were too dependent on personal connections instead of systematic procedures. Then she clicked to a slide with my photo on it, like I was some kind of wanted criminal. The primary obstacle to necessary operational improvements has been Director Mitchell's resistance to change. Despite multiple attempts at collaboration, he has consistently refused to implement strategic improvements, questioned legitimate management decisions, and fostered a culture of resistance within his department. She paused for effect, looking around, the room like a prosecutor addressing a jury. For these reasons, I'm recommending immediate termination of Scott Mitchell's employment and approval to proceed with the comprehensive restructuring plan I've submitted to each of you. She sat down, looking satisfied with herself. The room was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then Linda turned to me. Scott, you were asked here to respond to these allegations and present your perspective. Please proceed. I stood up, didn't bother with fancy slides or printed presentations, just looked each board member in the eye. Linda, before I respond to these allegations, I think the board needs to understand exactly who they're dealing with here. I opened my folder, pulled out the first document. This is from Morrison Industries, our largest client. They've been buying from us for 15 years, represent 30% of our annual revenue. Yesterday, Bill Morrison called me personally to complain about Ms. Hamilton's suggestions to switch to just-in-time delivery for critical components and use lower-grade steel in mining equipment. I saw Danny Peterson's eyebrows go up. He knew Morrison's operation as well as I did. For those of you who understand our business, you'll recognize that both suggestions would be catastrophic for a client who operates heavy machinery in remote locations. Ms. Hamilton apparently doesn't understand our business well enough to know that. Brooke's face was starting to change. The confidence was slipping just a little. But that's not the concerning part, I continued. The concerning part is what I found when I started checking up on Ms. Hamilton's track record. I pulled out the next set of documents. Apex Manufacturing, closed down 6 months after her efficiency improvements. Meridian Industrial, bankrupted by lawsuits after she outsourced quality control. Precision Dynamics, lost $20 million on an acquisition she recommended. The room was dead silent now. Brooke looked like she'd been punched in the stomach. But the most concerning part isn't her track record, I said. It's what she asked me to do on Wednesday afternoon. I pulled out the printed email. Ms. Hamilton asked me to manipulate our Q3 financial reporting by moving expenses between quarters to make our performance look better than it actually was. When I refused, she retaliated by questioning my performance and recommending my termination. Jason Webb leaned forward. Scott, are you saying she asked you to falsify financial reports? I'm saying she asked me to move costs and revenue between quarters without legitimate business justification to make our numbers look better. You can call that whatever you want, but I call it fraud. Brooke finally found her voice. That's completely false. I asked him to optimize how we present our results. Then explain this email, I said, handing Jason the printout. Jason read it, his face getting darker by the second. He passed it to Linda, who read it and passed it to the next board member. By the time everyone had read it, Brooke Hamilton looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. But I wasn't finished yet. Because after 20 years of watching this company grow, after missing my kids' baseball games and school plays to keep production running, after building something I was proud of, this woman had tried to destroy it all in 3 weeks. And I was about to make sure she understood exactly what that meant. Linda Brooks looked at Brooke like she was seeing her for the first time. Ms. Hamilton, did you or did you not ask Mr. Mitchell to alter financial reporting? Brooke's voice came out shaky. I asked him to present our results in the most favorable light possible. That's standard business practice. Moving expenses between quarters without justification isn't standard anything, Jason said. It's a violation of GAAP accounting standards and potentially SEC regulations. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, I interrupted, is how someone with your track record got hired in the first place. I pulled out my last piece of evidence, the phone records I'd documented from my conversations with Rick, Janet, and Tom. 3 industry contacts confirmed that every company on your resume either went bankrupt, got sold for parts, or lost millions after your improvements. Apex Manufacturing closed. Meridian Industrial got sued into oblivion. Precision Dynamics lost $20 million on your acquisition recommendation. Danny Peterson spoke up for the first time. Scott, are you saying her entire resume is false? I'm saying her successful turnarounds were disasters that destroyed companies and cost people their jobs, and now she's trying to do the same thing here. Brooke stood up, face red. This is ridiculous. Scott Mitchell is manufacturing lies because he's afraid of change. He's exactly the kind of outdated thinking that's holding this company back. Outdated thinking? I looked right at her. Lady, I've been keeping this place running while you were still figuring out which end of a wrench to hold. My outdated thinking built the client relationships you're trying to destroy. My outdated processes kept us profitable for 20 years, while companies that hired people like you went belly up. The room went dead quiet. But I wasn't done. You want to talk about being afraid of change? I'm not afraid of change. I'm afraid of stupid change. There's a difference between improving something and breaking something that works. Linda held up her hand. Ms. Hamilton, Mr. Mitchell, please step outside while the board discusses this. We went out into the hallway. Brooke immediately got on her phone, probably calling her lawyer or her headhunter. I just stood there, feeling strangely calm. Whatever happened next, I'd told the truth. That had to count for something. 15 minutes later, Jason opened the conference room door. Scott, please come back in. Ms. Hamilton, please wait. I walked back into that boardroom, knowing my career was about to go one of two ways. The board members looked serious, but not hostile. Linda spoke first. Scott, the board has reviewed all the evidence you've presented as well as Ms. Hamilton's allegations against you. We want to be absolutely clear. You are not being terminated. Ms. Hamilton's recommendation has been rejected. The relief hit me like a wave, but Linda wasn't finished. Furthermore, we're launching an immediate investigation into the matters you've raised. Jason will lead it with outside counsel. We take accusations of financial impropriety extremely seriously. Danny Peterson leaned forward. Scott, we also owe you an apology. You should never have been put in this position, having to document unethical requests or defend yourself for doing the right thing. What happens now? I asked. Now we deal with Ms. Hamilton, Linda said. You're free to return to your normal duties. Peter will oversee all operations while we sort this mess out. I walked out of that conference room feeling like I'd just survived a plane crash. In the hallway, Brooke was still on the phone, pacing back and forth. She looked at me when I came out, her expression somewhere between panic and fury. I didn't say anything. Just walked past her back to my office. 20 minutes later, I heard raised voices from the conference room. Then silence. Then Brooke walked past my office with one of the security guards, carrying a small cardboard box. She didn't look at me this time. My phone rang. Peter Harrison. Scott, can you come to my office? I found Peter behind his desk, looking tired but relieved. Brooke Hamilton's employment has been terminated effective immediately, he said. The board found sufficient evidence of policy violations and unethical conduct to justify immediate termination for cause. That was quick. When you have documented evidence of someone asking employees to manipulate financial data, you don't wait around for more problems. The board couldn't risk keeping her on even during an investigation. What about her restructuring plan? Dead and buried. In fact, the board wants to offer you a promotion. Senior VP of Operations, significant salary bump, expanded authority. They were impressed by how you handled this, documenting everything, following proper procedures, protecting the company even when it put your own job at risk. I sat back in my chair. Peter, I didn't do this to get promoted. I did it because someone was trying to destroy something we'd spent 20 years building. I know. That's exactly why they want you in charge. The promotion became official the following week. Senior VP of Operations, 25% salary increase, and authority over 3 departments instead of just 1. Not bad for a guy who supposedly didn't understand modern business practices. The investigation that followed uncovered even more problems. Brooke had inflated her credentials during the hiring process. 2 of her references turned out to be fake, and her MBA from Northwestern was real, but her magna cum laude claim wasn't. Her previous consulting firm had let her go after clients complained about her recommendations. She'd been good at selling herself, just not good at actually doing the work. 6 months later, I was back in that same boardroom presenting quarterly results to the board. Revenue up 18%. Client satisfaction at a 5-year high. Employee retention improved significantly. 0 accounting irregularities. Danny Peterson stopped me after the meeting. Scott, I want to apologize again for what happened with Brooke. We got dazzled by her presentation skills and didn't do our homework on her actual results. We all make mistakes, Danny. What matters is learning from them. That's generous of you. You could have handled this differently, kept quiet, let her hang herself, protected your own position without sticking your neck out for the company. That's not how I was raised. I know. That's why Dad always said you were the backbone of this operation. A year later, I got a LinkedIn message from Brooke Hamilton. I hope you're satisfied with destroying my career over a personality conflict. Some of us are trying to innovate, while others just stand in the way of progress. I read it once and deleted it. She still didn't get it. She didn't get fired because of a personality conflict. She got fired because she tried to make me commit fraud, proposed changes that would have destroyed our best client relationships, and had a track record of running companies into the ground. I didn't destroy her career. She'd been destroying it one company at a time for years. I just made sure she couldn't destroy ours, too. Today, our operation runs better than ever. My team has grown from 40 to 65 people. We've landed 3 major new clients and expanded into markets we'd never touched before. Other companies send executives to study our processes. And every day, I remember what my dad taught me when I was 16 and started working in his machine shop. Son, there's 2 kinds of people in this world: those who fix things and those who break them. Make sure you know which one you are. Turns out, 20 years of fixing things beats 3 weeks of trying to break them. Sometimes the best way to handle someone who thinks they're smarter than everyone else is to just let them prove how wrong they are. Experience doesn't always beat credentials on paper, but it sure as hell beats them in real life.